In our previous classes, we learned about the chapter Motion in a Straight Line. So, in this lecture, we'll learn about the fourth chapter, Motion in a Plane. So, in the Motion in a Straight Line chapter, we learned physical quantities like distance, displacement, average velocity, average speed, instantaneous velocity, instantaneous speed, acceleration, average acceleration, and instantaneous acceleration. So after this we saw the graphs for xt and vt. After learning all this concept, we restricted our discussion to only a motion in a straight line. So we used only x-axis to define our motion. So if a body moves in a positive x-axis, then we took the displacement as positive. If a body moved in a negative x-axis, then we took it as a negative displacement. So in all these cases, we understood only the motion in a straight line. But in this chapter, let us try to understand, or let us try to describe motion of an object in two dimensions. So that is a plane. So in this chapter, we are going to learn motion of a particle in two dimension or three dimension. That is space. This is also called as 2D motion. This is also known as 3D motion. So if you use only x and y axis, then for that kind of motion we say motion in a plane. If you use all the three axes, then it is motion in a space. So hope you understood what is 2D motion and what is 3D motion. So in order to describe motion of object in 2D or in 3D, we need to use a new concept or a new quantity known as vector or vectors. So to describe the above mentioned physical quantities. So now it is necessary for us to learn what is vector and how do we add or subtract or multiply the vectors, and what could be the result of multiplying a vector by a real number. And we shall also define velocity and acceleration in a plane. Then we discuss motion of an object in plane. So in that also we'll learn constant acceleration motion for motion in a plane. Then we will move on to the projectile motion. So after projectile motion, there comes a circular motion, which is very much familiar to you all. So in that we'll learn uniform circular motion in detail. So in this chapter we will be concentrating more on the vectors and how do we add or subtract vectors and what are the rules for adding subtracting vectors. Then we'll learn the projectile motion and the uniform circular motion. The first concept in this chapter is scalars and vectors. Or what are the examples for the scalar? A scalar is a quantity or a physical quantity which has only magnitude but no direction. This is the proper definition of scalar. So scalar is any quantity which has only magnitude but no direction. So such kind of physical quantities are known as scalars. So for example, you have mass, temperature, length, time, etc. So all these physical quantities are scalars. So these scalars obey the ordinary algebra, like you can add them, you can subtract them, and you can divide them. So for distance between 2 points, that is length, is a scalar quantity. The temperature of the room is again a scalar quantity. So the mass of the object is scalar quantity. Time is scalar quantity. So these quantities does not have the direction to specify them. So these quantities are known as scalar quantities. For example, so you have a rectangle. The length of the rectangle is 1 meter and the breadth of it is 5 meters. So if you have this, then the perimeter of the rectangle will be what? So perimeter means the addition of all the sides. So if this is 5 meter, this is again 5 meter, this is 1 meter. So if you add all this, 5 plus 1 plus 5 plus 1, what you get is 12 meters. So here the perimeter of the rectangle is 12 meters. So if you see, the side of the rectangle is a scalar quantity. It is denoting us only the length of this rectangle side. So if you take the perimeter is again a scalar quantity. So the perimeter can never tell us what is the direction. So perimeter is again a scalar quantity, and the length and breadth of the rectangles are also the scalar quantity. So the next example is, so the maximum and minimum temperature of a particular day So these are the maximum and minimum temperature of the particular day. So the maximum temperature would be somewhere around 35.6 degree Celsius and minimum temperature is around 24.2 degree Celsius. Now, so you have known the maximum temperature and minimum temperature. Then similarly you can tell the difference between these two temperatures. So difference of these two temperatures will be what? 11.4 degree Celsius. So here you are subtracting the maximum temperature. So you are subtracting minimum temperature in a maximum temperature. So here in doing the perimeter problem you have added. So scalars can also obey the algebraic rules like the ordinary numbers obey. Hope this is understood. Here the temperature is again a scalar quantity and the difference of temperature is again a scalar quantity. So the next here is vector. So vector is a physical quantity which has both magnitude and direction. So these quantities with the magnitude, they will have a specified direction. So those quantities are known as the vector quantities. So the example for vector quantities are displacement, acceleration, velocity, force, momentum, and many more. So these quantities here has both magnitude and direction. Hence these quantities are known as the vector quantities. So in textbook, vectors are denoted by the bold letters. So for example, V or velocity is denoted in bold letters. So in a written type, we cannot always write the bold letters to denote vectors. We can also denote vector with a simple arrow mark on its symbol. On a physical quantity symbol, if you denote the arrow mark, then that represent a vector quantity. So these two represents a vector quantity. Now the magnitude of a vector is often called absolute value. Its absolute value indicated by V is equals to V. So vectors can also be denoted by other alphabets. Say for example A. If you write it in a bold way, then this denotes a vector. So if you write a small a in a bold manner, then this again represents a vector. So P, Q. So all these represents a vectors. So if you are not comfortable in writing a bold letter, then you can also write A vector, P vector, Q vector. So all this represents the same. So to denote vectors, you should always draw the arrow mark on top of the letter. So this is what vector concept is. So now the representation of vector. So vector, as I already said, can be represented by a arrow line PQ. Here the length of the PQ gives the magnitude and the arrow mark. So arrow mark indicates the direction in which the vector is going. So for vector, you have both magnitude and direction. To represent a vector, we use arrow mark like this. So the length of the vector gives the magnitude and the arrow mark gives the direction. Let's suppose you have two vectors, vector AB and vector CD. So if you observe these two vectors, AB has got a small magnitude, but the direction of this vector is in a positive x direction, and for this vector CD vector the magnitude is more compared to AB vector, and direction is again in a direction of AB vector. Let's suppose you have a vector like this. and a vector like this. So this vector is in opposite direction to this vector, and this vector has got a small magnitude compared to this vector. So PQ vector has a larger magnitude compared to RS vector, and the direction of PQ vector is opposite to the direction of RS vector. So here the point P is called origin or tail, and point Q here is called head or terminus. So I'll rewrite this sentence. So if you have a vector like this, P, Q, the end P is called origin or tail of the vector, and the end Q is called the head or terminus of the vector. So in a vector you have the tail part and you have the head part. So tail part here is the P part, head part here is the Q part. Tail part is also known as the origin and head part is also known as a terminus. So these are the basic things you need to understand about the vector. So the magnitude of vector is always written like this. So or this can be written. So this represents magnitude of vector. So this magnitude is independent of direction and it is always positive. So if you ever say the magnitude of vector, then you are actually representing the positive value of the vector. So this magnitude is independent of the direction of the vector. Now next concept is position and displacement vectors. So here now let us consider the motion of object in a plane. So let's suppose the motion of the object is like this. So this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and y-axis gives the position, that is x. The unit for it is meters, and x-axis gives the time, that is t, and unit for time is second. So now to describe a position vector or a displacement vector, what you are doing is you are considering an object which is moving in a plane. Next, we have to choose the origin. So origin of this plane is O. Let origin be O. Now let P and P prime be the position of the object at T and T prime. So let's say this point and this point. So this point be P and this point be P prime. So P and P prime denotes the position of the object at time T and T prime. Let P and P prime be the positions of an object at time T and T prime respectively. Now to get a position vector, then we have to join the O to P with a straight line. And if you denote the arrow, then that is a vector. OP is a position vector of the object at time T. OP is the position vector of object at time T. So now let us denote this vector as R. So OP is equals to R. Now there is another point, that is P prime. So now let us draw the position vector for P prime. So this arrow mark says the direction and the length of the vector gives the magnitude of the vector. So now let this position vector be R prime. So OP prime is the position vector of object at time T prime. So OP prime is what? R prime. So you have two position vectors for two position points of a body which is moving in a plane. So this is the origin, and the motion of the particle or object is like this. So in this path you are considering 2 points, let's say P and P prime. So P is the position of the object at time T and P prime is the position of the object at time T prime. Now you have drawn the position vector for point P and position vector point or position vector for point P prime. So for the first position vector you have given it as R, and for second position vector you have given it as R prime. So the length of the vector here gives what? That gives the magnitude of the vector, and the arrow which is there on the top of the vector gives the direction. So from these two vectors you can say this vector has got more magnitude than this vector. So there are basically two position vectors R and R prime. So now object is moving from point P to P prime. So if you draw a straight line from P to P prime, so if you draw the straight line, so here is again arrow mark. So the tail of this displacement vector should coincide with the arrow mark of the first position vector, and the arrow mark of the displacement vector should coincide with the arrow mark of the second position vector. So this line gives the displacement vector. So P prime is displacement vector for a object that is moving in a plane which has got a position P at time T and P prime at T prime. If you see, the displacement vector is a straight line that is joining the initial position and the final position. So from that we say displacement is a vector quantity which has got a direction. So in earlier classes we saw that displacement is not equal to the distance. So let's suppose if you have the motion of the particle like this. So it has started from point, let's say P, and it has ended its motion at point Q. So let me draw another diagram. So let this point be T, A, B, C, and this be M, N, O. So to reach from point P to Q, the object takes 3 different paths. So first it can go from P, T, Q, or it can also take this path P, M, M, O. So let us call this as M prime. So second path is P, M, M prime, O, and finally Q. And the third path would be P, A, B, C, Q. So the object has nearly 3 paths to go from point P to Q. So if you want to measure for the first, if you want to measure the distance for first path, then you should go all through the path and measure the distance. So for third case it is again the same. You have to go from P to A to B, B to C, C to Q. So now for this case, if you want to measure the displacement, then you should draw the displacement vector that starts from P and ends at Q. So the shortest distance between 2 points is the displacement. So from this it is clear that the magnitude of displacement is either less than or equal to the distances, but this displacement cannot be greater than the distance. So here PQ represent a displacement vector for the motion of the particle in space, in plane, not space. This is not space. So you have 2 coordinates here, x and y. So hence the motion of the particle in these 2 coordinates is the motion of the particle in plane. So if you have 3 coordinates, then it can be said as motion of the particle in space. So the next concept that we have here is equality of vectors. So to see whether the 2 vectors are equal, then we have to perform some experiment. So let's suppose you have 2 vectors A and B. Let A and B are 2 vectors. And you can say these 2 vectors are equal if and only if they have the same magnitude and same direction. So let me denote the 2 vectors. Vector A and vector B. The vectors are denoted by a straight line with the arrow mark, straight line with the arrow mark. Let the tail of A be O and the head of A vector be P. Let the tail of B vector be Q and the head of B vector be S. So you have 2 vectors, vector A and B, and you have tail of vector A is O Now to check the equality, what we will do is we will shift this point or tail of B towards O, or we'll shift this Q on O. Now if you shift this point Q on O, then you can see the P and Q also, P and S will also coincide. So if Q is shifted on O, that you should shift it parallelly, like if you take this like this, then P coincides with S and Q coincides with O. Then you can tell these two vectors are equal vectors. If these two vectors does not coincide, then these two vectors cannot be said as equal vectors. So equal vectors can also be denoted as A is equals to B. So A vector is equals to B vector. So now let us see another example. So you have a vector A like this. So with O prime be the tail and P prime be the head for a vector A prime. Now there is another vector B prime, and Q prime is the tail of the B prime vector, and S prime is the tail of the head of the B prime vector. So S prime is the head of the B prime vector. Now if you try to shift this vector on O prime, if you try to coincide this Q prime on O prime, then you can see that P prime and S prime will not coincide. So these two vectors, A prime is not equal to B prime vector. So A prime vector is not equals to B prime vector. Why? Because if you try to coincide point Q on point O, then you can see that P and S will not coincide. So this is for the equality of vectors. So to check equality, what we'll do, we'll take the tail of one vector and we'll try to coincide with the tail of another vector. If the head of the two vectors coincides, after coinciding these 2 points, then we say the two vectors are equal vectors. So equal vectors are denoted by, or they are indicated like this: A is equals to B. So then we saw the two unequal vectors A prime and B prime. So now let us write the definition for equal vectors. So what could be the definition? So two vectors are said to be equal vectors if both are of same magnitude and both are in same direction. If both are of same magnitude and both are of same direction. So this is the equal vector. So next concept that we have here is multiplication of So the next concept is multiplication of vectors by real numbers. So now if you have a vector A, so vector A, and you have, and there is a positive number lambda. So what you have a vector A and you have positive number lambda. Now multiplying a vector A with positive number lambda will give a vector whose magnitude is changed by factor lambda, but direction remains the same. So now if you multiply So now here you have a vector A and a positive real number. So if you multiply this vector with a positive number lambda, then you will get a vector whose magnitude will increase by the lambda factor, but the direction of this vector A remains same. So this can be written as lambda A, that is lambda with A, if lambda is greater than 0. So you can write this like this, lambda A. So for example, so there is a vector A. If you multiply this vector A with 2, so that will give answer as 2A. So here you are multiplying the number 2 with the vector A, then this multiplication will give you a vector with the magnitude 2. So this vector will have the same direction as A, but the magnitude is twice the vector A. So let us draw the diagram. Let's suppose if this is a vector A. Now the multiplication of 2 to vector A will give you a vector 2A. So can you see the difference? So the length of the vector will give you what? The magnitude. So the magnitude of A is smaller compared to the magnitude of vector 2A. But the direction of both these vectors is same. So both are directing towards the positive x-axis. So now you are multiplied a positive number to the vector A. Then you got a vector which has got same direction but magnitude multiplied with lambda. Now let's suppose what will happen if you multiply a vector A with negative lambda. That is, multiplying a vector A by a negative number minus lambda gives a vector minus lambda. So whose direction is opposite to the direction of A and whose magnitude is minus lambda times A. So you have a vector A and you have the lambda. Let's suppose the value of lambda is -1 for the first case and magnitude of lambda is minus 1.5 for the second case. So let us draw the two vectors. So there is a vector A. So now if you multiply lambda to this vector, what will happen? You will get minus A. So that means you have a vector A, but its direction is opposite to the direction of vector A. So minus A is this. Now for the second case, you have vector A, you are multiplying this with minus 1.5 lambda. So what will happen? You have a vector A and this vector is multiplied with minus 1.5. So I cannot draw this like this. So you have a vector A here. So you are multiplying this vector with the lambda value 1.5. So this is 1 and this is 0.5. So this is minus 1.5 A vector. So why this is opposite in direction? Because this has got negative value here. So this is what? So if you multiply the factor lambda with a vector A, so lambda, if you multiply with vector A, so this lambda could be a scalar having its own physical dimension. Then the dimension of lambda A is the product of dimension of lambda and the dimension of A. So for example, so you have a velocity which is a vector quantity and you have a time, so which is a scalar quantity. If you multiply t with v, then what you will get? You will get displacement d. So d is a vector quantity. Dimension of lambda A is the product of dimension of lambda and A. So the dimension of t is what? S. So the dimension of V is LT power minus 1. So if you write, then this will be only L. So displacement is a vector quantity. So the dimension of lambda A is the product of the dimensions of lambda and A. So this is the point that you have to remember. Hope this concept of vectors and scalars is clear to you, in that we saw the equality of vectors, then we moved to the multiplication of vectors by real numbers. So we understood how the equality of vectors works, and we understood what will happen if you multiply a positive real number to the vector, or if you multiply the negative real number to the vector, and what will be the direction of the multiplied vectors. So if you have the positive value, then you will have the same direction. If you have the negative value, then you will have the opposite direction.